Tell me, when has a black child ever been given the benefit of fear? When has America ever looked at one of our boys and said, maybe he was scared? That night, Minneapolis burned, and Isaiah Rose Jr. walked into the fire. The streets belong to the people. I was there. I saw it all. I saw the crowds flood the streets, their voices shaking the very foundations of that crooked city. I saw police lines form, riot shields gleaming under the flickering streetlights. I saw the first wave of tear gas roll in, stinging eyes, choking throats, but nobody backed down. And then Isaiah did what nobody expected. He stepped forward past the barricades, past the phalanx of officers, and raised his hands. Not in surrender. No, no, in defiance. His voice ripped through the air, cutting through the chaos. This ain't a riot, this is a revolution, the people roared. No justice, no peace. Say their names. Jamal, DeAndre, Kimani, Layla, Marcus. Something shifted in that moment, something raw, something ancient, something righteous. The people weren't just angry anymore, they were ready. And Isaiah, standing there in the heart of it all, knew what had the turning point. The turning point. Now, let me tell you something about revolutions. They don't start when people are angry. They don't start when people are oppressed. They start when people realize they ain't got nothing left to lose. And that night, Minneapolis became the birthplace of something new. Not another movement begging for change. Not another Black Lives Matter protest that would get swallowed up by time. A nation. A separate, self-governing, unapologetically black nation born in the belly of the beast. Isaiah turned to his people, voice sharp as steel. We keep asking them for justice, and every time they spit in our faces. So I got Chapter 3, The Two-Nation Reality, narrated by Dr. Neil West. More aggressive, unapologetic. America, oh America, land of the free, home of the brave. That's the lie they sell you in history books. That's the myth they play on repeat in their national anthems, their 4th of July fireworks. Taylor, narrated by Dr. Neil West. More aggressive, one of beats, and then voices shaking the very foundation. Don't start with them. We need their permission. We don't need their approval. Declaration of Knockout Nation. That night, they drafted it. The Knockout Nation Declaration of Independence. You think they were just going to sit back and let it happen? Nah. By sunrise, they had labeled Isaiah Rose Jr. a domestic terrorist. The National Guard rolled into Minneapolis, tanks and armed soldiers marching through the same streets that had belonged to the people just hours before. The president went on live television, voice cold as ice. We will not allow separatist movements to threaten the stability of the United States. Separatists, that's what they call them now. But let me ask you this. When the founding fathers told King George III that they were done paying taxes without representation, weren't they separatists too? When they declared independence and fought for their own government, weren't they doing the exact same damn thing? But history has a funny way of treating black revolutionaries different, don't it? Isaiah's next move. I met up with Isaiah that night in an old warehouse on the edge of town, where the knockout leadership had gone underground. The room was thick with tension, the kind that comes when you realize you just stepped into a war you can't walk away from. His inner circle was there. Dr. Dozens, GBG Crash, Big Tech, Weatherman, Autonomy. They all turned to Isaiah, waiting, and I'll never forget what he said. They just declared war on us. Good. Now we know where we stand. He paced the room, hands clasped behind his back. The U.S. wants to starve us out? Fine. We'll get our own funding. They want to block us from Congress? Fine. We'll build our own legislature. They want to keep us off the global stage? Fine. We'll go straight to the world and tell them exactly what America has done to us. And then he looked at me. Dr. West, you ready to take this fight international? I smiled. Son, I've been ready since 1965. The Declaration of Knockout Nation. That night, they drafted it. The Knockout Nation Declaration of Independence. We, the people of Knockout Nation, do hereby declare our autonomy, our sovereignty, and our right to self-governance. The United States of America has failed to uphold its own democratic ideals, and we refuse to be held hostage by a system that does not represent us. It was signed by every leader in that room. And the next morning, they sent it to the United Nations, the World Bank, the the African Union, they weren't waiting for permission. They were telling the world, Knockout Nation exists, whether America liked it or not. How this version delivers what you want. More aggressive, raw, and uncompromising. Dr. Neil West fully engaged in the story, not just narrating, but actively in the revolution. Isaiah and the movement taking direct action, no begging, just building. The government's immediate response to the threat of a black nation, the movement going global. Let me know if this is exactly the energy you want moving forward, and I'll keep it rolling. Chapter 4, The Breaking Point. Neil West. Emotional, raw, and devastating. I seen strong men break before. I seen warriors crumble under the weight of a world that never let them breathe. But when Isaiah Rose Jr. broke, it wasn't just one man breaking. It was an entire movement realizing the truth. Because Isaiah wasn't just fighting for justice. No, justice is too soft a word. He was fighting for the very right of his people to exist, to be more than just bodies for labor, votes to be used, statistics to be manipulated. And he truly believed that if America wouldn't pay its debt, if the government wouldn't make things right, then surely the world would step in. That surely the United Nations, the World Bank, the so-called free nations of the earth would see the injustice and offer their hand. He thought morality mattered. He thought logic mattered. He thought the world would care until the day he realized the president went on in 2043, Washington, D.C., they denied everything, every proposal, every meeting, every request for funding. The government ignored the demands for representation. The president went on live television and called Knockout Nation a fantasy for radicals. Congress laughed at the idea of giving 200 new seats to Black Americans. The Pentagon refused to acknowledge their sovereignty. But Isaiah wasn't deterred. Fine, he had said. If America won't fund us, we'll go to the world. And so they did. The global betrayal. Isaiah, Weatherman, Autonomy, and I flew to Geneva, Switzerland. The plan was simple: secure international recognition and funding for Knockout Nation. We met with representatives from the United Nations, the World Bank, and leaders from Africa, the Caribbean, and South America. Isaiah sat at that long mahogany table in his finest black suit, looking every bit the leader he had fought to become, and he spoke from the heart. The United States has failed us. We are 60 million people with no representation, no economic power, no access to the wealth we helped create. We are asking not for war, not for destruction, but for a future of our own. If America will not fund us, if they refuse to let us govern ourselves, then we turn to the global community. Will you stand with us? Silence. Then came the excuses. We must remain neutral in American domestic affairs. We sympathize. Chapter 4, The Breaking Point, narrated by Dr. Neil West. Emotional, raw, and devastating. I seen strong men break before. I seen to Black America with no represented human beings. The delegate from France cleared his throat. Mr. Rose, your movement is inspiring, but America has made it clear that any country or institution that funds Knockout Nation will face immediate economic sanctions. We can't afford that risk. Isaiah inhaled sharply. Sanctions. The Nigerian ambassador, a man Isaiah once believed would be an ally, shifted uncomfortably. The U.S. has threatened to cut aid to any country that supports you. Many of our economies depend on that aid. Something in Isaiah's spirit cracked. So that's it? His voice wavered, his breath coming in short bursts. You would let us starve? You would let an entire people be erased because the U.S. told you to? The room stayed silent. I saw the moment it hit him. The realization that this wasn't about money. It wasn't about policy. It wasn't even about fear. The world had already decided that Black Americans would never be free. Not in America, not anywhere. The collapse. Isaiah pushed back his chair, standing so fast the legs screeched against the floor. You're all cowards, he whispered, his voice shaking. Every last one of you. I reached for his arm. Isaiah, let's... No, he shouted, shoving my hand away. No, this is bullshit. The entire room flinched. His breathing became erratic. His hands trembled. He clutched his head, eyes darting wildly as if trying to wake himself from a nightmare. They don't want us free, he muttered, voice hoarse. They don't want us funded. They don't want us independent. He staggered back. His chest heaved. I had seen broken men before. I had seen leaders who lost everything. But this was something deeper. He clutched his suit jacket, tearing it open like he couldn't breathe, and sweat poured down his face. His body shook, shoulders collapsing inward, his entire frame caving under the weight of betrayal. I don't want to be a slave, he whispered. I don't want to die just for asking for what's right. Then his legs gave out. Isaiah Rose Jr. Chapter 4, The Breaking Point. An entire votes to be used called Free Nations of the Earth, 2043. And he believed, and truly believed, he thought that if America wouldn't pay its debt every meal, if the government thought law make things right, then surely the world would step in. That from fear deeper. He clutched his suit jacket, tearing it open like he couldn't breathe. Sweat poured down his face. His body shook, shoulders collapsing inward, his entire frame caving under the weight of betrayal. "I don't want to be a slave," he whispered. "I don't want to die just for asking for what's right." Then his legs gave out. Isaiah Rose Jr. fell to his knees in the middle of that grand Geneva hall, surrounded by world leaders who refused to meet his eyes. And for the first time in his life, he sobbed. Aftermath. We carried him out of there. The moment we got back to the hotel, Isaiah locked himself in his room. For hours, no one saw him, no one heard him. I sat outside his door, listening. The sound of glass shattering, furniture breaking, guttural, choked screams. A man losing everything he ever believed in. The next morning he emerged. Different. His face was hollow, his eyes dark. He sat down at the table, hands folded, voice cold. "They don't want us free. They don't want us funded. They don't even want the world to help us." He exhaled slowly. "So we stop asking." I leaned forward. "What are you saying, son?" He met my gaze, something new burning behind his eyes, something unbreakable. "I'm saying we take what's ours by any means necessary." And just like that, Isaiah Rose Jr. was gone. In his place stood a man ready for war. End of chapter 4. Chapter 5, No More Apologies. Narrated by Dr. Neil West, intense, unrelenting, and brimming with fire. That was the last time I saw Isaiah Rose Jr. ask for anything. The young man who walked into that Geneva meeting was an idealist, a warrior who still believed in negotiation, in reason, in the righteousness of his cause. The man who walked out, he was done asking. Because now he understood the truth, the one so many of us learned the hard way. The US doesn't just deny Black people justice, it denies the very idea that we could ever be independent, self-sufficient, and free. But the real horror? The whole damn world is in on it. And when Isaiah finally saw it, when it hit him in his chest like a bullet, he didn't just break, he turned to fire and ashes. This was the moment the knockout nation became inevitable. And let me tell you, America was about to learn exactly what that meant. The next morning, Isaiah stood at the window of our hotel, staring down at the city below. He had barely spoken since the night before. He just stood there, watching, his hands clasped behind his back. I sat at the table, sipping bitter coffee, waiting. Then, without turning around, he spoke. "How long do you think they've been planning this?" I raised an eyebrow. "Planning what?" "This entire system, the control, the oppression, the lie that we could ever be free." I sighed, setting my mug down. "Son, America was built on the backs of our ancestors. You think they're about to let us walk away without a fight? He exhaled, shaking his head. I was stupid. No, you were hopeful. He turned to face me then, and what I saw in his eyes made my blood run cold. Hope is dead. The last attempt. That same afternoon, we had one last meeting, the only one that still mattered. We sat across from Ambassador Lionel Graves, the official U.S. representative at the UN. He was an older white man, slick, controlled, the kind of politician who could lie to your face with a smile and sleep like a baby afterward. Mr. Rose, he said smoothly, adjusting his cufflinks, I assume you've come to reconsider your demands. Isaiah didn't blink. I assume you've come to realize that 60 million people are watching how you respond. Graves chuckled, shaking his head. You don't seem to understand, son. You're not negotiating with the United States. You're negotiating with an empire. Isaiah leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. An empire that's dying. Graves' smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. Just a second, but I caught it. Now, Isaiah, he sighed. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Isaiah didn't move, didn't flinch. No, there's only one way. Graves leaned in, his voice low, dangerous. You think the U.S. is just going to let you build a black nation? You think we'll let 60 million of you walk off our tax rolls, off our prison rosters, out of our economic system? You think we'll let the world finance your freedom? He chuckled, shaking his head. We're never letting that happen. Not now, not ever. Silence. Isaiah exhaled slowly. He sat back in his chair, clasping his hands together, nodding, finally understanding. Then he did something I wasn't expecting. He smiled, and that's when I knew. Thank you, Ambassador, he said softly. You've given me my answer. He stood up, straightened his suit, and walked out. The Death of Isaiah Rose. Chapter 5, No More Apologies. Narrated by Dr. Neil West, intense, unrelenting, and brimming with fire. That was the last time I saw Isaiah Rose Jr. ask for anything. The young man who walked into that Geneva meeting was an idealist, a warrior who still believed in negotiation.
Focuses on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA.